Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call our Erie Land Bank meeting for January 22nd. I'd like to call it to order and would start by seeking an approval of the consent agenda and the minutes from our December 18th meeting. Are there any questions or comments on the agenda or the minutes?
I move to accept the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, takes us to finance report.
Yes, so included in your packet, we have the balance sheet. It's showing the checking account with a balance of $94,300.42. Total bank accounts are a little over $142,000. On the profit and loss, it was showing the net income is a negative $22,550.62. So we did not have the December requisition submitted to be able to receive the funds for November. So that is why we're showing a loss there. And we were still continuing to pay our contractors and attorney out of the checking account in the meantime. So we are hoping to get reimbursed for that at the county land bank meeting when that gets approved. That was for November and December. And then I also have the check detail in there, just the checks that were dispersed for December.
Is that reimbursement taking longer than it normally does, or is it just
So
does
there,
it slow down any?
Their December meeting is 2 weeks earlier than usual due to the holiday, so it just put a tight time frame on turnaround from November to December. So.
Still a timing issue and not.
Yeah, it was more of a timing issue.
Okay. Questions on the financials? Any other questions or comments? Okay. Seek a motion to approve the financial report.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that takes us to citizens' comments. Do we have any citizens wishing to speak? Anybody online? Anybody reach out?
No,
here?
nobody had reached out, and just for the board's knowledge is that the city is no longer providing Zoom links for the public to attend virtually. If they would like to attend and speak at a meeting, they must attend in person unless they make accommodations ahead of time for whatever reason or circumstances.
Okay.
It's helpful.
Okay, takes us to report of the executive director for work plan updates.
All right, so there should be a stapled packet all the way at the back of your board packet. Just some updates as far as the different work plans and the properties associated with those. Includes the 2022, 23, and 2024, which Jake just created, which includes the properties we acquired off the judicial tax sale. So work plan 2022, most everything on there has been taken care of. A couple of the outliers are our 1017 German Street. That was the property, if you remember, we as a board went and visited. We solicited for rehabilitation bids. We didn't have anybody, so we're going into this new year and into the spring, we're going to reevaluate that, get some new numbers on possible demolition of that back half of the structure, and look at what some possibilities are there, and maybe get it out for bid again and see if maybe we can get some better numbers for the board so that we can entertain possible rehabilitation of that. Also going to look to see if maybe a local neighborhood organization or whatever group is interested in maybe taking on that development as well, and maybe we'll coordinate with the demolition of that. But that one will be forthcoming in the next few months once we do some more evaluation on that. That's about it on that on the 2022 work plan. Everything else other than that, it's either been sold, it's under a developer agreement, or the lot is available and will be marketed to the adjoining property owners. 23 work plan, this one's kind of many different stages based upon whatever the property would be. Judicial tax sale, of course, we've, the 6 months went by from December 22. We've been able to demolish those or put the other ones out for demolition. First one on the kind of about 8 down is 51921 East 25th Street. That was one we acquired from judicial tax sale that there was an individual residing in the property without utilities. So we had to go through that process. Gene's team did all the paperwork to file the ejection, and we finally, before Christmas, made sure that the property was vacant and have secured that, and we'll prepare that one for demolition. Other than that, a couple of the gray highlighted ones, we had property where we filed blight acquisition on behalf of the land bank, and the property owner demolished that, so we will be working to deed that one back over to that property owner since they remediated the blight. That's on the redevelopment authority side of things. 163 Brighton is another property, first quarter condemnation. Right before Christmas, we kind of got the final order from the judge saying we could kind of proceed with those. It's a hoarder situation, so we're looking at that. We met with a auctioneer at the property, hoping that maybe we could get them to empty the property with the proceeds, from the auction of the items going to, the cost of cleaning it out. But after walking through it, they determined that there wasn't, the bad outweighs the good that's in the property. So we've got to look at that and kind of see what we're going to do there. Because it's in a neighborhood. It's certainly the poorest house in the neighborhood. It's right up off of 38th Street and Peach. We spent some money. We cleared the overgrowth and cleaned up the neighborhood to kind of help, show some effort up there. But we have to kind of figure out what we want to do. It could be salvageable, but again, like I said, it's a hoarder situation that is just going to cost some money to clean out if that was the route we went. 320 Plum Street, another one we just got a final order on. Possible developer proposal there, so we're going to get that one out here in the coming months for proposals. I think, hold on, let me see what I got. That's it for that one. And then on the last page, which is the 2024 work plan, is just the properties that we were successful bidder on at the 23 judicial tax sale. So of course we have to wait the 6 months for those to go through so Gene can do his thing on those, and then we'll proceed with that. Just a note on those, any of the ones vacant lot were acquired for the East Bayfront Greenway Trail through the redevelopment authority. So those, once we complete acquisition of those, will be moved over to the East Bayfront Greenway Trail project.
So all listed that way.
Yeah, except for 1003 East 23rd Street. I can't, my recollection on that one, I believe it's next door to a property we already own. So it was an attempt to make a buildable lot in that area, I believe. Jake, did you have any? Yes. We put these together so early on, sometimes it's hard to remember exactly what they're for. Other than that, so 649 Downing Court, our West Bayfront filled out a contingent sales agreement on that one, along with 427 Liberty. We did go inside those. 649 Downing Court is a viable rehab, so OWB is okay with moving forward with that one. 427 Liberty, it's up in the air. It's one of those, they're not really feeling rehab on it at the moment, but we have a period of time to wait here, so they're just going to kind of see how everything else they have in their portfolio goes, and we'll revisit that one once we can make a real final decision on the outcome of it. So it's a single family property, no off-street parking, right on Liberty Street. So there's a lot of cons to it. So any questions on those?
More of a comment. I'm glad to see that our West Bayfront is interested in those parties. Maybe we can learn a little more about the proposal, see a budget, see if there's a way we can help finance that, however we can assist and however we can help. I think we need to take a look at it. So,
Well, speaking of, as the treasurer of our West Bayfront, we would welcome that conversation. And
Yeah.
we've been in conversations with the redevelopment authority to perhaps access some ARPA funds to help, do that. Because the whole idea is our West Bayfront, the Bayfront Eastside Task Force, Sister St. Joseph, is to, target, the properties within the neighborhood, make them viable, resell them so we can welcome new homeowners or renters. That is really the goal here.
I
So,
figured there were probably conversations, but
yeah.
okay. Good. Any other questions or comments on the updates to the work plan? Okay. Hearing none, let's move right into solicitor's report. Mr. Sundberg.
Good afternoon, Board. You'll see my report. Aaron spoke to the 519, 521 East 25th Street. We're able to get that person out of there so that we rightfully do what we need to do with regard to that property. Set forth the most recent Erie Land Bank sales that happened in the latter part of December. And then we're working with, and I again want to thank Aaron and his entire office staff helping us get through back taxes, getting properties encumbrances, liens and encumbrances released so that they can be sold. So we're meeting on a regular basis, coordinating that process so the turnaround time is a little bit quicker. Again, even though the liens have been released by order of court, there's still liens of record, and third parties want to see them removed from the actual title, the recording. So that's what we're doing to help effectuate the sale, quick turnaround for the Erie Land Bank. So again, I want to thank Aaron and his staff to help me facilitate that.
Was this the question that had come up about title insurance not being okay with just a court order? We had talked about this, right?
We did. That's one of the issues that the title insurance companies want to see not the liens literally satisfied of record, not only just dismissed by court order. So that's part of the process too.
Which I can understand that.
Yeah.
So,
And then that 2024 properties, again, we wait the 6-month appeal period. Aaron had correctly marked all that, the 6-month wait period. Just this past week, received a phone call. And why that's so important, just received a phone call from a client of our office who was a successful bidder at the tax sale, has gone in and put about $7,000 worth of work on the property. An appeal has been taken, and the review of the notice process has confirmed that they missed one of the property owners in notifying them, so the tax sale is going to be set aside. So now the contractor, he's going to get his money back, but he's had a crew go in there, start doing work. And, Gene, how am I going to get my money back? Well, I'm not sure. We're going to work on that.
it's not extinguished until it's extinguished.
Yes, right. He didn't have the deed. He didn't wait the 6 months.
Yeah.
And so that's why that's so important. So thank you.
Okay. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, thank you for the update. Takes us to unfinished business and new business.
All right. So first up, and like Gene said, and this one really, last month we had a resolution of a substantial amount of properties. This is one that we missed, 2308 Camp Housing. It's been under contract to sell, but was just trying to work through getting all the liens and everything off, so we need to get a resolution to extinguish and abate the city taxes, county taxes, and then pass it on to the school district for them to exonerate the school taxes on the property. So then we can sell the title over to the neighboring property owner so he can proceed with what he needs to get this property cleaned up and in his ownership, so.
This is pretty much the standard resolution we've seen on
Yes.
other properties, right? I don't
Correct.
see anything different from.
No, nothing
from other
different, just
ones, so.
outlines the property, the taxes that are listed as payable. And there is one note on the last is that the 2023 taxes aren't being shown, but if there are any, the resolution would cover any of the city, county, and school taxes that are due payable to the county assessment office, so. That by resolution, the
Okay.
board approves that, and that those would be extinguished if they were found prior to closing, or even post-closing.
I don't have any questions. Unless there are other questions, I would seek a motion to approve the resolution to extinguish the taxes on camp housing.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, takes us to the additions to the work plan.
All right, so the last page of your packet should be a page with 4 pictures on it. So under the 2024 work plan, we had 19 judicial tax sale properties, which we successfully acquired, and 4 blighted property acquisitions. So as kind of following along with, as we had done in the past, focusing on blighted properties outside of the QCTs, outside of the area where we can, the redevelopment authority can utilize ARPA blight funds, so look at neighborhoods and properties that we really have no resources for. And so on this page are the 4 properties that we identified outside of QCT that are blighted, kind of have, sustainable neighborhoods, and they're just the bad egg of the group. So we have 45 Kellogg, 4119 Genesee, 2656 Cochrane, and 618 West 26th Street.
So those bottom 2 are not in a qualified tract.
So 2656 Cochrane is deceiving. The second floor is about 3.5 feet from the first floor. When you walk in the back door, it's had a substantial roof leak for a long period of time.
No, they're not in a qualified tract?
No,
Either
they're
one
not.
of those. Okay.
No.
Okay. Well, I've said it in prior meetings, I like that we're focusing, in an area where these other dollars can't reach. It makes all the sense to do that, so.
Well, it just goes to show that, blight is far and wide, unfortunately. It doesn't necessarily lend itself to a specific neighborhood anymore.
Yeah. And a lot of times, you tackle a property like one of these and it has an even larger outsized effect, right?
Yeah,
We talked about that, so.
Yeah, there's certainly, Kellogg, we had acquired and demolished a property next door to that one a few years ago. I don't know if you're familiar with Kellogg, it's off 29th Street. It's kind of a little dead-end spur street up there off of Glenwood Park Avenue. So, and Cochrane again up there off 29th Street between 26th and 29th. So just, there's probably more, and we'll slowly identify them and look at those as they come available, so.
Great. This is nothing you need us to approve, right?
Actually, just I guess a motion to proceed with moving these ones through the process would be
I didn't
appreciated.
see that in here. You do need a motion.
Yeah, just a board motion to,
All right,
to
then I
move
would
on
seek
these.
a motion to add the 4 highlighted properties to the 2024 work plan.
I'll make that motion.
And I'll be pleased to second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, development agreements.
All right, this is more for discussion, and as we had this study session scheduled and we had to cancel it just because I didn't feel we were fully prepared for it. But just kind of some of the issues and concerns we're having with developer agreements right now. We have, and as you can see on the work plan, there's about 7 or 8 developer agreements out there. Over the history of the land bank, we've had 3 successful certificate of completions on developer agreements. 2 of them are by one developer and the other is by a separate one. However, you know, if you remember a year and a half ago-ish, it was probably about the fall of 22, we discussed and added the escrow funds to the developer agreements and $10,000. And at that time, we certainly thought that taking $10,000 of someone's money and holding it in escrow would be an incentive to facilitate the rehabilitation. However, that has not been the case. We many of those developer agreements that we signed early in 2023 or late in 2022 haven't gone anywhere. They haven't been rehabilitated. You know, we had an individual on Fairmont that rehabilitated it but never did anything that he was supposed to as far as you know, completing it to the standards which are identified in that developer agreement. So it just hasn't done anything to hold them accountable. So certainly something, you know, I want the board to think about, and we can schedule that study session again and have some further discussion on it. But you know, how we look to make something that these developers will want to rehabilitate their properties. And so, you know, we're also working with Gene and his team, you know, the idea Ohio land banks do deed and escrow. And so we're looking at what our abilities in the state of Pennsylvania are to hold some type of title to that property, because right now our developer agreements identify a right or reverter, which, and Gene can speak on why that just is a little cumbersome. So
Yeah, I mean, at that dollar amount, I'm just surprised that that's still not enough of a stick.
10,000 is a lot to me.
Are they going into this thinking they're still gonna get that back? Or, I mean,
I think and not having spoken with many of them, you know, it kind of appears if for the price they're getting the property for, that 10 grand is something that they just could walk away from and not.
Cost of doing business.
Yeah, you know, so.
Can we somehow make it difficult to get a building permit in the future? You know, if you know, if someone's on the naughty list, you know.
Our developer agreement and the memorandum to develop that's been filed, which has had some changes, and Gene can speak to that, but you know, it makes it harder for them to title the property over at a later date, because the title agent will find our memorandum, but that's only if they sell the property. Mm-hmm. If they turn it into a rental, then, as with many of our developer agreements across the city from years past, nothing activates until they try to title that property to somebody else that doesn't do a quick claim deed. So, you know, there's just, yeah, you know, certainly I know when we talked to escrow, that was you know, we thought we were holding something tangible that we could, you know, utilize to leverage the rehabilitation, but that hasn't been the case. So
I don't know what that answer looks like today, but I would like to get our study session rescheduled sooner rather than later, sometime in the next few weeks at least, so we'll all have a little time to think about it, and we can walk into the meeting with maybe an idea or two, and see what other best practices are, because I am surprised this has not really worked out the way we thought. But yeah, let's circle back around and get this scheduled.
okay, yeah, we'll get that on the schedule. So. And that's really number 4, the vacant lot development. Just really another one we can certainly just, you know, to put into your minds to start some thought on is we do have some, and I provided the master property list for the land bank, and certainly we have marketed these properties to adjoining property owners, and whatever the case may be, they're not interested in acquiring them. You know, whether maybe $500 is too much, you know, plus the associated fees to get that title transferred, or whether they feel they can just utilize it for free because the land bank's mowing it. You know, not certainly sure. You know, not really sure. You know, certainly we know those hurdles exist, and we know people use our lots, you know, through the redevelopment authority and that over the years, because we maintain them, you know, to a certain extent. And so we're sitting on some properties, and certainly there's some that are potential development sites that maybe we could put housing on, or somebody could put housing on. So, you know, we're starting to now look at what our possibilities could be, what the land bank could facilitate, what we if we wanted to do something else. So certainly still early on. Jake's been in touch with a couple individuals that, up in New York that have done some development with some modular homes, some smaller type structures. So we're just kind of exploring our different possibilities so that we can bring those to the board, for some options, and also put it out to the board members for any thoughts or possibilities there. So we certainly want to minimize our holdings as far as vacant lots, because I know, the land bank doesn't want to be financially responsible for maintenance of all of those lots.
Do you think, and I know every scenario is going to be different, but do you think it's just as simple as, like you said, these folks are probably using this as their yard already? They don't want the tax bill, even though it would be minuscule. And, do we have to get creative with somehow how we assess that, who it's assessed to? Do we have a tax holiday for the neighbors for a certain period to encourage them to take that on? I don't know what that is. I'm just thinking out loud, but we have to do something, because
we'd have to definitely do some tracking as far as, the demographic of who owns the properties next to whether the majority of these maybe are investors who, their tenants use it and they're not really wanting to buy a property. Their tenants will just use it and park on it, or whatever the case. Or if it's homeowners who just may not have the financial means, we can maybe do a little bit of digging on that.
I mean, if you go through,
get some answers.
if you go by and you see that they're parking their vehicles on it, they've got their stuff on there, we somehow have to assess them for that. I don't know how that legally, if that's doable, but yeah, and I suspect that's the majority of this.
Yes. Yeah, and we do, over the summertime, we will get calls from code enforcement. There's a car parked on your lot. We do have, paper we go out and put on their windshield saying they have to move the car off the lot. And again, we try to follow up with them at that point saying, hey, you can purchase the lot, you can put a driveway in.
Maybe that's a quality of life ticket that they receive, or if you want that to go away, then buy it and we waive that. I don't know what it is, but we have to put some teeth in this somehow. So that can be part of our study session too, is try to, because I don't know what legally we're allowed to do.
So we'll Cynthia will get a poll out. We'll try to get a date scheduled for a study session here, and
Thank you.
we'll get some information. Hopefully have a little bit more for
I
you.
enjoyed that, just to keep up, right? Even if it's just a couple times a year to huddle up and think out loud. So.
It's okay.
Okay. Any comments on anything we've covered so far? Any other business? Hearing none?
That's all I have.
Okay. Then we can call this meeting adjourned. Thank you.
And our next meeting is February 19th, which is President's Day, right?
Yes, City Hall is open.
Or open,
So
right.